Hi, I'm Dianna Campbell, and welcome to my show, Dianna. Okay, I'm not smiling. Okay, I'm too serious. Join me and my exciting guests while we discuss business, education, technology, media, and politics. Get to know me, Dianna, a proud survivor of cancer and founder of BETM Consulting. I'm a passionate and involved human rights and community advocate. Join me on Dianna, and I will see you the next time. Hello and happy fall, and welcome to a Talk with Dianna Survivor 2023. I hope you're getting ready to get your little winter stuff out because it is very chilly, and it has been really, to me, a really kind of cold summer. I didn't get to the beach, and when I did, it was too cold, so I hope the fall will be nice and cozy. So get your cozies out. But I got a good show for you. I've been following this person, God, for years and years during this play. And this is Debra and Byrd, Becoming Othello.
A Black Girl's Journey.
A Black Girl's Journey. And she is awesome. And you must go see it, wherever it is. And we're going to find out all of the dates and stuff in this conversation. So Debra Ann, how you doing?
I'm doing well.
I'm glad to see you. And you're traveling. No,
Yes.
Not just in the United States, you're abroad.
Absolutely.
I remember when you started this journey. What year was I saw you when you had with the full cast and then you broke it down?
Well, yeah, if you're talking about the full cast of all-female Othello,
Yes.
that was, we started in 2013 with the stage reading,
Right.
yes, Harlem Shakespeare Festival. And then in 2015, we did a main stage production of our all-female Othello, directed by Trezana Beverly. And that was over there on 141st Street. It was really fabulous.
That's the first time I even went there. I was like, what is this?
Yes.
I was just kept going. It was just so awesome.
Absolutely.
And
the Dorothy
hearing-
Maynard Theater.
Yes, I remember Beverly, and I got all those pictures and all the photos. They keep coming up in my memory on my cloud.
Yes.
So you turned that whole journey into a one-woman show.
Absolutely.
So
Yes.
I saw you last at Lincoln Center. It's breathtaking. She's breathtaking. It's just like, I can't believe, and she turns in these characters. It's just awesome.
It's wonderful. It's a wonderful thing to be able to have the ability to write one's own story or one's own solo show. Yeah, it's a story. It's storytelling, and turn that into a one-woman play, or I call it a living memoir. It is a theatrical solo show, a theatrical drama, and it comes from me playing Othello. And what happened around that. And then looking back over my life, because while I was playing Othello, a lot of strange and interesting and crazy things happened. And I looked over my life I had to do that in order to find the nuances for my character Othello. And in doing that and living my life, I think that because I transformed to become a man, all kinds of things happened, all kinds of interesting things. I wasn't going to play at being a man. I wasn't going to make fun of it or make believe. I wanted the audiences to be able to come to the theater and see an actor who was able to transform so that you really believe that this person was a man, a soldier, a general. Absolutely.
Well, it's breathtaking.
We did
You
it,
have
right?
to. You must see this. It's just. You watching these personalities unfold, but the storyline is so deep. So you started as, how old were you? Were you a young teenager when you?
I started acting?
Yeah.
No, I wasn't that young. I was about 25.
Okay.
And I was at church, and I filled in for someone. I played Harriet Tubman, and then the next year I did something else with them. And next thing I know, I'm in an acting class. And I was doing a lot of what we call gospel theater back then, you know? And that's my beginnings. I got cast in lead shows, and then I continued on Black theater for the next 7-8 years. It was really wonderful. It was a wonderful journey. I had a great time doing that. And then I saw a troupe of Black actors performing Shakespeare at the Harlem Victoria 5. You see, they're just building the Harlem Victoria now.
Right.
That's my home. I lived there for a long time when I was a young actor and producer. And I saw a troupe of black actors playing Shakespeare, and Tunde Samuel of the National Black Theater, he said, Debra Ann, you need something that's going to challenge you and help you to grow. And when I saw the troupe of black actors, they had come up from the public theater. George Wolfe had sent a troupe of actors, you know, his star friends. They came up, Tamara Tooney and others, they came up and they were performing Shakespeare. And something about that was intriguing. Something about that was mesmerizing and breathtaking, as you say. And I saw it was a challenge, and I thought that if I want to learn that kind of thing, I need to go to college. And so I did. I went to college to learn Shakespeare. And
wow, you did? Okay.
I absolutely did. I went to Marymount Manhattan College, and it was a wonderful journey there as well. A lot of things were great and fabulous, except when it was time for me to graduate. You know, I had a couple of professors who told me I should not, maybe with my facility for language, perhaps I should try my hand at August Wilson and not do the classics. And I thought, wait a minute. I just spent all my money. I just spent all my cash flow working on, you know, the classics, Ibsen, Chekhov, all that Shakespeare, all that kind of thing. And so I saw that other artists of color were also having challenges getting classical roles.
Ask you about that.
And so that's why. That's why I started Takewing and Soar Productions and the Harlem Shakespeare Festival, and why all these shows came about, and why we were able to give opportunities to many classically trained actors of color, as you've seen over the years. Absolutely.
Yeah, because it was taboo for African Americans to play Shakespeare.
Absolutely. You know, sometimes there are certain groups of people every once in a while who feel like something belongs to them and they don't want to share it. They don't want someone else to come in and take it over, or, you know, what have you. Like in 1821 in New York City, there was a troupe of black actors called the African Company, and they had prepared Richard III. There was a rival white group at the Park Theater. They also prepared Richard III. The rival white group said to the black group, do not do any Shakespeare, do not do Richard III. We're bringing that. We're bringing someone over to England to play the role. And the African Company decided that they were going to move forward, that they were going to put the show up. So they put the show up. They were on the stage. The police stormed the theater, put them all in jail, carried them down to the courthouse, and the judge only let them go when they promised never to try to act Shakespeare again.
Right. But look at where we
are
right now.
Here we go.
So what do you think about our education system for especially people of color to have it as a curriculum?
Well, you know, that was one of the questions I began asking myself upon graduating, you know, and I kept saying, well, you're trying to say that there's not a place for me in the world once I graduate. So why is it that universities are accepting students, people of color, Asian, Black, Hispanic descent, if you're going to tell us that there's no opportunities for us? And so because it was, I don't want to say tradition, but it was a tradition for us to be put out, kept out, and shut out. But not in the 40s and 50s and early 60s. A lot of our black actors, they were playing in American Shakespeare. They were playing at the public theater. They were like Earl Hyman and Jane White, Paul Robeson, James Earl Jones, Rosalind Cash, even Ruby Dee.
Absolutely.
There were opportunities for these artists to play in Shakespeare. But around the late 60s, when Black Power movement moved in, it became taboo for black people to play in these classical plays, to play in Shakespeare. We wanted to play plays that were by and about black people, people of African descent, you know. And then somewhere along the line, like 80s, 90s, maybe 90s, you started seeing artists of color again begin to play Shakespeare roles. Early in the 2000s as well. And so because I saw a troupe of black actors performing Shakespeare here in Harlem, I didn't think nothing of it. I didn't know that we were being put out, kept out, and shut out. I didn't know that I would find myself at the end of a classroom sobbing. Sobbing about all my dreams being dashed, sobbing for every black girl that had been disenchanted, for every person that had been disillusioned, for the $75,000 that I had spent learning Shakespeare and the classics.
Are you kidding me?
Ibsen, Chekhov, or learning all of that, how to sit, how to speak, how to hold a fan. All of those things are part of the curriculum. And if I'm going to learn those things, then when I get out of school, that I'm going to expect to be able to do those things.
Yeah.
And when I learned that that would be a problem, I said to myself, well, we have to fix it. Somebody has to help classically trained actors of color. And that somebody, I've said to myself, will have to be me. Went back to my community, got 4 women board members to join me. And what ended up happening is I formed Take Wing and Soar Productions, giving many center stage opportunities to classically trained actors of color. And now I see the ripple effect of what that did. Not only are those artists working in the classics, they have lead roles, they're teachers now, and things of that sort. I see them on television a lot, and I see other young people of color beginning to form their own companies, like in Detroit and other places. There are artists of color who do the classics are springing up. The leaders of classical theater companies are springing up across the nation, and it's a beautiful thing to watch and see, because it wasn't that way 20 years ago.
Right. So you would say New York City is the premise of doing the Shakespeare plays?
I think so. I think New York and the tri-state area is where you see, and also Oregon, because Oregon always had mixed race casts. But the public theater, places like that, even the Lincoln Center, they always had artists of color in the classics. And so that was a good start and a good beginning. And then you see the small companies like the Classical Theater of Harlem and the Harlem Shakespeare and Take Wing and Soar. You see us begin to create more and more work, 2 and 3 and 4. We produce 2 to 6 programs, events a year, really trying to get the artists the opportunities to practice their craft.
What the Department of Education in New York doing with classical education here, would you say?
Well, I see a lot of what we call teaching artists going out to schools and reaching out and helping professors, teachers, mind you, in grade school and high school, middle school, to work out Shakespeare text, to work out classical text, so that the students would learn not only a standard English, but what is heightened language text? How do you use successfully 3 and 4 syllable words? How do you wrap your mouth around those? Not everything is always typed up and digital. How do you speak in a way that that can be heightened? How do you build vocabulary? And so these kinds of things, these kinds of works embolden in students' ability to speak the speech. Speak the speech trippingly, I might say, as you say in Shakespeare plays. Also, it helps you with relationships and emotional journeys when students begin to speak Shakespeare's text. There's all kinds of things. There's, of course, we all know trauma and drama and loss and love and friendship and betrayal. You see firsthand all of those kinds of things and when you play around with Shakespeare text. And so, most students and teachers who play with Shakespeare in a real way, not just sit there and read it, but actually speak the speech, they find something valuable there. Yes.
Well, I'm glad they're doing that, because it's amazing, and it's a premise for especially students to grow.
Yes, absolutely.
In
absolutely.
an international way.
Yeah, yes, and it helps the students across the board. When they're more engaged and more happy, then there are other sections and other the other classes become more enlivened, because you skip out of this class and you go to the next, and you have a certain kind of glow on you, and you just want to continue having a great day after working out your emotional self.
Well, that's good. So I'm going to ask you, so how much time do you visit the classrooms and do any workshops with the students?
Well, I don't go to the classrooms. I haven't been doing that, but I have been being a teaching artist. You know, at different. I'm an artist in residence at different colleges. So, let's say I went to Saratoga and I was there at that university, and I just came back from Prague, and I was a teaching artist there, and so we teach a lot of. You know, adults who want to refresh, and a lot of college students who came on a intensive training course. And so I would teach how to write a solo show, the beginnings of what it is to write effectively with detail, how to be inspired by Shakespeare's text and the things you love and music around you to begin to put together stories that actually help you to write a good solo show. Also, I also was teaching dramaturgy for actors. How do you dig deep and find everything that you need to make your character come alive, to make it a reality? Where do you live? What do you need? What do you love? Where are you from? What is the world around you like? What's at stake? All of those kinds of things that help actors to find the details of their character, so that when that actor hits the stage, it comes alive in a way that is that's real. Yeah.
Well, you know, I took some little classes at Costello Theater. That was my favorite. I don't know. I think it's important to make that part of one's life, you know, especially if you've gone through trauma, as I have with the rare disease cancer. And that's, oh my God, I can't even begin to tell you.
Indeed.
But I found art.
Yes. Yes.
Art was my healing base. I don't care what was on stage, on the street, I don't care. That's why you guys would see me. You probably didn't know that girl she's going back to Sloan Kettering taking chemo.
Wow.
7 years chemo radiation.
Wow.
So, but the art was healing because I can imagine myself inside a different characters, and it makes you happy. It takes you from out of all your realm.
Indeed.
I just call it art is healing. That's my hashtag.
Art is healing. It absolutely is. You know? I agree with that. I believe that.
So you went to Prague. I mean, my God.
Yes, I just came from Prague July. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I was there the month of July, indeed.
That's a beautiful place. Oh
it's
my
a
goodness.
gorgeous place. These old buildings in a city, lively, bustling people everywhere, really good food, nice places to stay. It's really beautiful there.
I know, I went. And this was on my, when I was doing my skiing journeys. I used to go. I went to Prague.
You know, it's so funny. I've never skied before. I don't think I want to try.
I didn't do it well. When they put me on the Black Mountain skiing, I was like, come on, Dianna, drop down. I'm like, no, you gotta catch me. You gotta catch me. I stopped the whole lift. I was like, oh, go, you gotta go get her. She's scared. Because it's hot.
She's making a mess on the slope.
Yeah, it was really. I wasn't that great, but it was fun doing it. But I was able to travel around the world, you know, Switzerland, different places. Just the people you meet.
Yes.
You know, that was important.
Absolutely.
Too. You meet a lot of different people, especially I was part of the Black Ski Club.
Look at that.
So that was in now we're seniors now. I haven't been in a while, but I still keep in touch with a few members. And it was so much fun, but it was different because we turned something that was not possible for African Americans to do.
Yes.
And we had our own ski club. That was been going on for I was early teenager and 20s. So looking at that and traveling, but we always had entertainment.
Yes.
Because it would last about a week, at least a week, sometimes 2 weeks, you know. But it was always incorporated with entertainment for different entertainers and stuff like that. But that's just an experience. I didn't know that. I saw you online. I said, you were somewhere on an island, with one of the islands.
St. Martin, Bahamas?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I went to St. Martin to have a little bit of a break.
And Wasn't that
then I
beautiful?
came back.
That was my first
And then
Lemonade.
I went to the Bahamas to perform Becoming Othello. And that was really beautiful. The first theater was called the Fiona Theater. It was the National Art Gallery of the Bahamas. And it was outdoors. And something about being in the elements, seeing all the green that I was seeing, it reminded me of a Shakespeare Company. I was outdoors and when I performed that show. And at the top of it was like, you know, what's that seating called? I don't want to say stadium seating. It's like the Greek, you know, those Greek stadium kind of seating.
Yeah, right.
And at the very top, there was a statue. And those statues remind me of maybe some of the statues at the National Black Theater when they had the, remember they had the statues there for the Orisha? And they had this beautiful statue up top. And in my show, I say, I hear them calling. It's my ancestors. And so when I look up and I see like these statues, it reminded me of that. And the blue sky meets the green grass meets the
I know.
the
I've been to
stadium
Bahamas.
seating.
The islands
It's
are
just so
awesome.
it's just so beautiful. And
God.
and I began to perform, and then it began to rain. And the rain got harder and harder. And I'm saying my lines, and all of a sudden I say to the audience, what is the rain policy here? As I look over to the producers. And I said, because my crazy self, I just keep going. And they say, keep going, we with you, we with you. And they began to pull out their umbrellas, and some left and came back with umbrellas. And I did my show in the rain, getting all wet. And it was really interesting. I started laughing because I said, not again, something else, you know. It was beautiful. I got
so
rained
wonderful.
upon in the Bahamas, outdoors, performing Becoming Othello. And for the most part, 90% of the people stayed until the rain stopped, and they just...
Well, rain don't stop people in the
You know,
islands.
I
They
just kept
don't.
going. They just kept going, and by the end of the show, they were on their feet, and I was tired as all get down because it was hot too. And performing in the heat is it's that kind of show that takes everything you have.
Yeah.
And when you have extra things on you, like weather and heat conditions, it takes even more. So at the end of the show, I just wanted to lay down.
Okay. So I seen you on the last time I saw you at Lincoln Center.
Lincoln Center, yes.
And it was just, I was just, how'd she do it? It was just like, God, she was all these characters.
That was a blessing.
And it was so emotional.
That's a very emotional show. Becoming Othello is a very emotional show because, one, I want the people to get the empathy part, to understand this is how you treat people and this is how you not treat people. Maybe you don't want to treat people this way. Maybe you do want to treat them that way. I want people to see themselves. I want to do what I call disturb the air. I want the emotions to fly off the stage and through the audience, so much so that you have to hold yourself. You have to grip yourself. You have to start to take care of yourself and wipe the tears. And because I want you to feel enough to start thinking about yourself and how my story is similar to yours and how it's similar to those people in your world, perhaps. What it feels like to be a certain thing, to live a certain thing, to understand a certain thing, just so that people can understand each other better and hopefully treat each other better and love each other better.
Well, it does. And the audience was like, you know, they couldn't believe it. And I saw you before, but that show was just, it was just, I talk about you all the time.
Really?
I do. I said, you ought to see her. She do this one, and it's so emotional. The pain part.
Yes, yes. I mean,
The-
it's not the prologue, but it's that first scene where I begin to have a conversation with God about the pain in my life, and at that time, the pain in my life is my daughter dying. She has a terminal illness, and I'm beginning to question God. Why is she here? Why was she even born? If He was going to take her from me, then why you sent her here in the first place? And then you hear a vibratory frequency of God speaking overhead and catches my attention. First of all, daughter, she's not yours, she's mine. If I never sent her there, you'd be dead by now. Do you remember the time when you was at the window about to jump out? What did you say? I said, I can't take it anymore, but if I jump, who's going to take care of Martha? And that time you was at the roof. If I die, who's going to take care of Martha? That's only 2 times that Martha saved your life. And so the remembering that, the recalling it, a lot of audience members really understand and vibrate with that part of the story.
A lot of people was in crying. It was tears. It was tears driving.
It was tears everywhere.
It was tears everywhere. It was just like you couldn't help it because it was just, oh my God. Because I think everyone experienced pain in their life.
Absolutely. Pain and loss, betrayal, all of the kind of Shakespeare qualities you find in his plays, you will find in Becoming Othello. You will find joy and sadness and regret and betrayal and triumph and joy and love and loss, all of it.
Yeah.
It's all there.
It's one woman, and she's on stage with all these characters and
become grandma,
emotions, and it's just like this, and sometimes you just like, oh, maybe I need to go to the restaurant. I can't because I can't miss anything. And then the moment it seemed like the weather changes. It's like it was a breeze because I think it was like hot that day.
Yeah.
And it was just like,
and it turns to evening, and the sun goes down. Yeah. And and we were outside, so we feel the effects of the weather condition, and we hear the effects of an engine going by or a plane going overhead. We contend with all of that, and still we find ourselves transported from New York City while in New York City and through this journey with this woman who is sharing with us what it means to transform, not just transform from a female to a male to play a male's role, but transform from a young person to a young adult to an older person who went through all kinds of triumphs and tragedies and traumas, but still somehow come out figuring out what unconditional love looks like, a love of yourself. How do you grow? How do you become who you need to become in order to help and affect change in the world? Do you grow up to be someone who runs a not-for-profit, who is helping something in some way? Do you grow up to become, what do you grow up to become? What is going to be your legacy? What is your living legacy? Or when people pass on, what are they going to be able to say about you? And hopefully it's good. And I've always thought about that as a young person in the church, if I could help somebody as I travel along, if I can cheer somebody with a word or a song, it's a beautiful thing to be able to actually realize not only your personal dream, but actually go out and do something that helps affect positive change in the world. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, well, you do it well. It was just an emotional kind of roller coaster, happy, sad, cry, and the audience was so engaged. And they didn't know what they were expecting. I've seen you before, but this was very particular.
Absolutely.
Your best. I've seen you at your best. I've seen everything else, but this, I didn't expect a lot because I guess maybe because you were at Lincoln and you crafted your gifts so well.
Thank you.
And you
Thank
just
you so
did.
much.
I was just like, is she gonna pass out? I don't know because I'm getting ready to, because she's turning into these different characters. Or just like, it was just unbelievable. And by the way, there's no props here. There's no props that you really, like sceneries and stuff.
No, there's not big scenery.
There's no sceneries.
No, there's a
in
bed,
the big.
there's a double chair, a single chair, and like a pulpit. A couple of tables to hold small handheld props that assist me. A telephone, a handkerchief, things like that I use to help, make the story come alive.
Right.
And performing at Lincoln Center was a complete and utter joy, and it was like right in front of the New York Public Library. And while I was at college, I went there often so I could a Library of Performing Arts, so that I could do my research and write my papers and things like that. And I always kept saying, I'm going to perform here, I'm going to perform here, one day I'm going to perform here. And 20 years later, there I was at Lincoln Center, dream come true. And it was a beautiful thing. I was like, this is the opportunity, I can't mess this up. I've been waiting 20 years, and when it happened, it was a lovely thing.
It was the right time.
It was a lovely thing.
It was the right time. And when I saw you, I said, because Lincoln Center is one of my favorite places. It is the favorite place in New York.
Yes.
I've seen so many things go across there, especially when Terrence Blanchard Shut Up My Bones, they did that opera. That was just like, oh, finally, come on, you guys, come on, people of color, let's do this, all right?
Yes.
Finally,
Indeed. And that was beautiful. It'd be even more beautiful to go back there and do a real run, a full run. It's an ask, it's a request. I just have to put a formal request on the table and see what happens,
Yeah, well, I know the people. I just had a meeting with one. I said, oh, you go around picking people. I said, well, you need to be, I got an idea. Okay, we'll have a conversation.
Yeah, so
you need to go back there.
It'd be lovely to go back there, and I need to, like I said, officially make a real request, We were there to kick off Harlem Week. Volzer Rivers is my producing partner, and he produces the entertainment at Harlem Week during Harlem Week. And so when they ask his representative Donna Walker-Kuhn and Irene Gandy, when they asked them, what should we put to represent Harlem and Harlem Week, they said Becoming Othello, because it's all about Harlem. It's about growing up in Harlem, East Harlem, working in Central Harlem, living in West Harlem. So, across all the three parts of what Harlem is definitely Becoming Othello.
Well, they're doing a lot. And Volzer Rivers, awesome. When I
an
first met
amazing
him years and years, I didn't know who he was. I'm like, then I said, oh, you're doing this and you're doing that. Who are you?
I'm a producer man.
No, he's very humble.
Very humble.
I mean, really, people that
humble.
I've known have known him, didn't know who he was and what he really did.
Absolutely. Powerfully humble, serving and serving. And he's just a blessing.
You tell him I'm still waiting for him to sit at my table. I keep coming. He said, well, when, Dianna? And the next thing, he's doing another big project,
Yes, he's always doing big projects. He's a blessing.
He's
absolutely.
He's awesome. Oh my gosh, Debra, I'm so glad you came. I think about you all the time.
Well, that's really nice.
Actually does. I do. Because when I think about, because I love opera. Number one, and seeing a Black woman do it in the way this one woman show is just. I can see it over and over again. You guys gotta go see it. This is Debra and Byrd. You need to follow her, because this is, if you haven't seen it, you will not. And bring your children. Bring your whoever, your families and what have you.
Not the little ones.
Because
it's a little rough sometimes.
They're a little rough.
The show is a little rough sometimes, but maybe junior high up.
Well, because some kids
some kids can't hold all that.
They can't hold on.
Yeah, it's a lot.
I think that performance, I think it was a child was hollering and screaming or something. Was that you who came off and picked the child up or something?
No, that wasn't me.
That wasn't you. I don't know what's you. I know some performers, they were just like, okay, they're not gonna quit. Let me go and pick them up and hold them.
That would have been amazing.
Because they were just, parents couldn't handle them. Oh my goodness! So where are you going next, and where you traveling to?
I'm here in Harlem now, and I am moving to Arizona. Arizona, I perform there November 3rd through the 11th, and then I believe I'm going back to Prague. I'll perform my show and teach some classes, and then I'm back to Arizona, and then New York City, and I perform again in March in what's a lovely place? Orlando Shakespeare. Okay. And I'm there for about a month, and I leave from there and I go to York. York is in the UK, in
I was going after United
above
Kingdom.
London, above London, you know, above, a lot above Birmingham. It's up there somewhere, and
I've been there. I mean, I'm
going to York,
My
yeah.
student who became my best girlfriend, she was from Birmingham.
yeah.
Yeah, that's how during the 90s I would visit her all the time. And it was just like, oh wow, what is, and that whole black, and Oxford, 15 years old, she was a graduate of Oxford.
Wow.
And at my university, Akron, we was the first to bring African Americans from abroad, and she was one. So we had her from Birmingham and a couple students from Africa, Ivory Coast and Dakar.
Yeah, I have to hit Africa. I got my eye on South Africa. I have my eye on Ghana to perform the show. Those are two places I think would appreciate it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And so I'm looking at that, looking at what it would look like to. I'm definitely going back to UK, other than York. I'd like to go back to Stratford and do the show again in live, you know, full out. You know, when I first did the show at Stratford upon Avon in 2019, that was the very, very first performance of it. I was actually sitting at a table with a, you know, the archive books and things in front of me, and speaking to the audience, and that was amazing. But for them to see the show fully staged and on his feet is something that I'd like to do. So I have to figure out how to make that happen. I think it's possible.
So how do you book your own shows, or is Voza part of your journey?
Voza's
when you go
Harlem
abroad?
Shakespeare. So it depends on where I'm going. Like if I went to Ghana, it would be with Voza's help, absolutely, because he did talk about that. He also talked about Japan. My main contact in Japan has passed away, but I think that this still might be possible anyway. So the other bookings, it just comes from them singing the show somewhere, and then they just write to me and say, Debra Ann, we'd like to bring you here, and I say okay, because I don't yet have a booking agent. I am up for a touring project, and so I am one of the finalists and so we'll see. I'll know at the end of the month if I made it into the final jury, and then I'll have a coast mid Atlantic on the East Coast. Be able to hopefully that works.
So Debra Ann, you have a video?
Absolutely, I have a couple of clips, and I'll just send you both, but they are excerpts from Becoming Othello, A Black Girl's Journey. One I filmed while artist in residence up at the Shakespeare and Company, and the other I filmed here in New York at the Center for Center at West Park.
Okay.
And they are just small little excerpts of from Becoming Othello.
Becoming Othello helped me to remember that in my becoming Othello, which led to my becoming undone, or shall I say, becoming clear. I was careful to not just undo my fears and pain and shame and lack and worry and blame. I made sure to let go of all those things that shackled and endangered my mind, those things that threatened to collapse my face and leave me stifled and stagnant, inconsistent and unsure, and I did not stop there. See, while I was at it, I undid the lies from my past that told me and my ancestors that we were not welcome in certain places, on certain stages, in certain genres. Those lies that told us that we are less than any little thing that kept me bound and confused and small and scared and powerless to defend myself, I undid. And in my undoing, I learned what it means to fully access the power of my God self. I married my hood self to my facility for language. I mixed in my awesome masculine energy with my soulful feminine spirit. And like my ancestors before me, who found Shakespeare before me, Ira Aldridge, Henrietta Benton Davis, Jane White, Earl Hyman, Paul Robeson, James Earl Jones. I push past the slanders, the slurs, the smears, the falsehoods, and the spirit of Iago still running rampant in this world with its defamations, its misrepresentations, and set out to create a better world which is unmistakably linked to an unforgettable Shakespearean experience. One that brought Henley Street to Harlem, and Harlem back to Henley Street, where I recently stood thinking about where do we go from here? Oh, my fair warrior, it gives me wonder, great as my content, to see thee here before me. Oh, my soul's joy. If after every tempest comes such calms, may the winds blow till they have wakened death, and let the laboring bark climb hills of seas Olympus high, and dock again as low as hells from heaven. If it were now to die, 'twere now to be most happy. For I fear my soul has its strength so absolute that not another comfort like to this succeeds in unknown fate. Now, I've undone gender and can play any gender. I've undone sexuality and free to love whomever I choose. I've undone race and am free to be any and all parts of my global self. My life has traversed the terrain of Shakespeare's plays, and I can use that life experiences to play anyone in the canon. And that's just me. I'm only one. But you and I together, wow. If we tell the truth about the past, we can have reconciliation in the present. There can be no reconciliation without the truth. I have endeavored here to tell my truth. This play is my Irenicon. What if we choose to put away that which separates us and lay hold to that which unites? Imagine for a moment what we might all be able to do together. The greatest poet in the English language found his poetry where poetry is found, in the lives of people. That is why he's called the poet. And his responsibility, which is also his joy and his strength and his life, is to defeat all labels and complicate all battles by insisting on the human riddle to bear witness, as long as breath is in him, to that mighty, unnameable, transfiguring force which lives in the soul of man, and to aspire to do his work so well that when the breath have left him, the people, all the people who search in the rubble for a sign or a witness will be able to find him there. Thank you, Paul Wynn.
Tell us a little bit more about the video that we are seeing.
Absolutely. That particular one was the one that I filmed during COVID. I wasn't able to perform live, but I was able and granted to have the space to do a 3-camera shoot, and so we did that there at the Center at West Park. And it is towards the end of the play when I am pulling myself together, you know, and talking about life, and how I pulled myself up, and anything that would keep me bound and small and scared and confused and powerless to defend myself, I undid. And I began talking about the ancestors and how I got their support in order to be going on this journey. That's what that is, and that's where it's from. It was an honor and a privilege to be able to perform it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, well, I saw you perform that really emotional part where there's almost suicide thing going.
Yeah.
that was just, it was tear-dropping. But then you turn it around, it was just like, oh my God, I can't believe this. This person, she's...
I'm here, there, and everywhere.
You're everywhere, but you never know where you can't guess.
That's right.
Even though you know the story, some of the story,
Yeah.
Othello, it's not
the same.
It's not the same.
It's absolutely not.
It's your journey.
Absolutely. It's married and coupled with my life story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You do it very well.
Thank you, love.
Yeah, and I'm glad you're still here talking
Absolutely.
about it.
So am I.
And you have a documentary when you leave this earth.
Yes.
It's right there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's going to help a lot of people also.
Well, that's the point. That's the goal.
It will help a lot of people because we're
Absolutely.
talking about, a lot of people are talking about suicide. There's a lot of people dealing with suicide.
Yeah,
And people they
that's
know, it's just, that's just prevalent we are dealing with now. And I think even more so after the pandemic.
Yeah, you got, you find what brings you joy. Any little thing that brings you joy. You need to do more of that, pursue that, latch on to that. What grounds you and makes you feel whole and complete and loved and like you can give and makes you satisfied and feels like bliss. What are those things? Lock on to those things.
Yeah, but one thing with an artist like yourself and artists, whether actors or what have you, they are the pivot of people. If they're going through anything, that's where people go to.
Absolutely.
They'll go to see a movie, they go see something live. That's
where you get your release.
That's where you get it. And you are the performer to turn that around. So that has to be very rewarding.
It is quite.
To know that there's some people in that audience have dealt with suicide, death, or to see mostly maybe want to leave. When they leave, they maybe want to commit suicide, but then they're in a different
space,
peace, and space.
Absolutely.
So
it's
better than a medical doctor.
Well,
and you have arts and
how we
entertainment.
say, art heals.
Art heals.
Yes.
That's what I said. That's my hashtag. You'll see me when I'm talking about anything, anything that's negative. Is art is healing.
Absolutely.
And that's my motto. Especially with Lyme-Myers sarcoma. Yeah, my rare disease is Lyme-Myers sarcoma. So if you just watching my show at Talk with Dianna Survivor is surviving from that.
Oh yeah.
And I have Debra and Byrd here, and coming Othello, you have to watch, and you'll see this show. And thank you for coming, Debra.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right.
Absolutely.
Okay. Ciao.
All right.
Cut.